What's up, guys? It's Dwayne, back again for another video, back again for the reaction. Today is a great, wonderful, beautiful day because it's another Germany day. How Germany grapples with its dark Nazi past. Without further ado, let's get into this reaction. Let's go.
The bells of St. Jacob's Church in a town called Herxheim am Berg, sounding the midday call. Nestled in hills dressed in the rich vineyards of Germany's southern wine region, the church dates back 10 centuries.
Wow.
In medieval times, people
10
believed
centuries.
bells could vanquish demons.
Really? Was that a thing? Did you guys really be... Back in the day, was that a thing? I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm guessing it was the same in the UK as well. Bells meant it could vanquish demons. Is that true? Don't know. Let me know in the comment section
Some demons are bigger than others.
you've heard that.
And there is a secret in the clock tower. An 83-year-old bell bearing a swastika and the name of Adolf Hitler.
Wow. The thing is, it's a part of your history, isn't it? It's a part of Germany's history. And what do? Do you bury that history? Or do you wear that history at the forefront, visible, so you can remember the atrocities of the past? Because there is no country on earth that doesn't have a checkered past, right? Especially the UK. So I wonder if this
the town's
bell...
mayor, Ronald Becker, has just resigned over the controversy created by the bell's recent rediscovery. But he still agreed to take us up for a look.
So it says the
Alles fürs Vaterland, Adolf Hitler. Und da ist es
on the
halt kurz.
swastika.
Wow.
Everything for the fatherland, it says, dated 1934, the year Hitler came to full power. Nazi
Right.
symbols have been banned in Germany since 1949, with some exceptions for historical artifacts. But Becker says he sees no reason to remove it.
Die Glocke sollte eigentlich hängen bleiben und sollte weiter ihren Dienst tun.
The bell really should remain hanging there, he says, and should carry on doing its duty, because we have here an historic bell. Becker
Yeah.
says
I agree. I don't know if you guys seen on the news over the past 4 or 5 years, there's been, especially in the UK, a lot of like historical statues that have been torn down because they have been seen as there might be statues of certain political leaders from the past that endorsed slavery. You know, with Britain's colonial past, there's a lot of statues, a lot of monuments that basically glorify people that were responsible for a lot of evil things in the past. But it's like, what do? Do you tear them down, get rid of them and say, we have to hide this? Or do we leave these things up to show that, yes, this happened, but on the other hand, let's explain. Maybe you keep the statue or keep this monument up, but with a little, you know, when you go to national parks or you go to a museum and there's a little notice board with information about the historical ties of whatever you're looking at. Maybe every single monument or bell or whatever has something you can read so you can learn about what happened and learn about where we are now or how far we've come. I don't think we should just be tearing them down or hiding them, or I just don't think that's the right way to go. You know, these things happen. We need to remember. We need to not forget so we don't repeat the problems again. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. But I just think sometimes history needs to stay history, but also needs to be visible, and it needs to be documented. So
says that town councillors have known about it since at least 1951.
there you
There was
go.
publicity again in 2011, he says, with no outcry. The village next to Herxheim am Berg is home to a retired teacher and part-time organist named Sigrid Peters. She's the one who discovered that the bell exists and still rings. She calls it a disgrace.
Dass es die Glocke
Right.
so gibt und dass die
It
verwendet.
bothered me, she says, that other people just like me would hear the sound of beautiful church bells and have no clue that there's a swastika on it. Peters wants the bell silenced, not destroyed. She believes remnants of the Nazi era must be kept as a warning to future generations, but only when presented in proper context.
Do you know, I don't know, I think I might have missed that part where, I think I missed the part where the bell is still in use. Now my knowledge of knowing the bell is still in use, that kind of changes things a little bit. Do you keep using this bell that has a swastika on it? That changes things just a little bit. See, that's difficult. Because if it was a bell that's just a bell and it's just there, just sitting there and it's part of history, leave it. But because it's being used and being rang, yeah. My thoughts are, if you didn't know that bell was there, you would just hear the sound of bells ringing. So it's just the knowledge of it being there, the symbolicness of it being there, that's the problem. I think that's what the problem is. Because, let's be honest, if no one knew that bell had a swastika on it, the sounds of the bells would just be sounds of a bell. We put meaning towards things. We put emotion onto things. I don't know how I feel. Let's keep watching.
Peters has received anonymous threats since she wrote to the local newspaper about the bell. People
She has.
angry with her for stirring up the past.
Right.
Berlin. If ever there were a capital of memory, this is it. The city's Holocaust Memorial, dedicated
I
to the
haven't
some
been there.
6 million European Jews murdered by the Nazis, sits right in the heart of the German capital. A vast sea
Wow.
of stone slabs, anonymous, dehumanizing.
Yeah, I've not been there. I would love to go. 6 million. Wow. To be honest, I don't think there is an atrocity in history as large as that. The only one I can think of is the Atlantic slave trade. But apart from that, I don't think there is one in history I can think of that killed that many of one people. It's very sad. Yeah. I can understand why, yeah, the emotion like that's tied to it is so strong.
Commuters taking trains to or from work at Wittenbergplatz are reminded that it was the same station from which so many Jews and others deemed undesirable by the Nazis were deported.
They have not been denying. No, they have not been forgetting.
Analyst Joseph Yanning says constant self-examination has allowed Germany to evolve to its current state, the most powerful country in Europe, with a Chancellor, Angela Merkel, seen as a moral leader on the world stage, and for many here as an antidote to the US President Donald Trump, who seemed to
Right.
have a hard time condemning a neo-Nazi march in Charlottesville.
You will see that there is no way to escape the fact that this has been the center of the Nazi terror machine. It was done from this city. And this city will tell you in a number of ways it was here where it happened.
The recent debate
And I have massive respect for Germany for that. Massive respect for Germany for that. That actually you are very transparent. You're not afraid to show what happened during that time, because it happened and the whole world knows where it happened. I wish the UK was as transparent. I don't think the atrocities of colonization, especially the Atlantic slave trade and like the massive cost of life that entailed, I don't think is kind of, the UK hasn't really owned up to that. It doesn't have anything kind of in place to remember that, and I wish there was just some sort of memorial to remember, just something, you know, like one thing, just to be there, but there isn't. So I do have a lot of respect for Germany for actually like taking responsibility for something that happened in the past, and maybe not even responsibility because it's of, you know, ancestors that have long gone. It's not the people in Germany today who are responsible for what happened in the past, but it's just the acknowledgement that the Germany from however long ago, you know, it's atoning for sins of your forefathers, and I've just got a lot of respect for that, you know. You guys don't have a royal family like we have. We have a royal family who were literally direct line to people that were involved in the Atlantic slave trade. So it's a bit different in a sense. In a lot of ways, the UK should be even more apologetic, or the royal family should be, in a way, and we should have memorials. I don't know. It's just my train of thought. But yeah, like I said, I respect Germany because you guys are quite open and honest about your past.
Debate over Confederate statues in the United States has drawn the gaze of many here to the German example. Few countries have confronted a dark past as profoundly or as doggedly. But that doesn't mean there haven't been differences of opinion over how best to do that.
Hitler, How Could It Happen? Is an exhibition examining the rise of the Third Reich and set in an old concrete air raid shelter. Managing director Enno Lenze says any historical exploration of Hitler is sensitive in Germany, in part because of fears that historical sites or objects could become neo-Nazi shrines. Even though he runs a museum, Lenze says he can see no argument in favor of keeping the Herrsheim bell at St. Jacob's Church.
If you ask them if you're a neo-Nazi, they say, no, it's not that I'm a neo-Nazi, but. And then some weird explanation will follow about tradition and I don't know whatever. But I think no Democrat and no anti-fascist will keep a bell saying Hail Hitler.
Yeah, it's true. When he says it like that and I think about it, yeah, he's right. That bell should be retired. It should be put in a museum. It just should, I guess. It's the knowledge of the bell being there. If no one knew that the swastika was on the bell, saying Hail Hitler, like, then fair enough. But they all obviously know it's on the bell. So they should just retire the bell, replace it with another bell, and then it's done. You know what I mean? It's going to sound the same.
There are other ways Germans work to keep the lessons of history alive. The mantra of never again, of necessity a continuum, passed down from generation to generation. Every year, students from teacher Rainer Seefield's history class make a pilgrimage to this cemetery on the outskirts of Berlin. Here they clean the gravestones of more than 1,000 forced laborers from outside of Germany who died under the Nazi regime.
Wow. That's so good. That's so good. You see, that's just accountability and just kind of respect for the past, like that I don't think in Britain we kind of have. You know, it's impossible to atone for everything in the past, but I think the stuff that we know of, the huge atrocities that we know of, we should try our best to learn from that and try our best to honour the memories of people that suffered in that time. And I think Britain, we have a lot to learn from this display of just respect and love almost as well. Like he's these kids are cleaning these 1,000 monuments with the names of people who lost their lives. There's something quite beautiful about that. Respectful, beautiful, and just, you know, honoring those people. And I just think that's great. And I think
For
Britain
one so young, they are
good
caring
men.
but heavy acts of atonement, especially for a history not of their own making.
No, it's not.
Willamina Ellinger is 14.
I think I can't change anything about it, and I'm not proud of it. But I think how Germany just grew after it and rebuilt itself, I think that's pretty good, because it's like one of the most powerful countries in the world right now. And I think that's like a good sign that we learned.
Yeah, it is. It makes me a bit upset in a way. Like, it makes me just a bit like, well, I was upset, not about Germany. I'm about like the UK and the fact that we're also one of the most powerful countries in the world, and we have yet to just take responsibility for like massive atrocities from the past. Like, if they could just do that, something like a monument, and just really acknowledge it, like, it would heal. It would do a lot of healing for not only just all British people. It would just do so much, regardless of where you're from. Just to do something like this is awesome.
So much so that many
Germany,
Germans
well done.
finally feel far more comfortable waving the flag, although not in a nationalistic way, they'll hasten to add.
We didn't used to think about this country as being great. No? Not in the sense of being über alles, as the first verse of the traditional German national anthem goes, Deutschland, Deutschland über alles, but in the sense of being a good place to live.
Nor does it mean that
I get
Germans
that.
feel free to finally untether themselves from the past, especially in Germany's current political climate.
Can I just say, is that the reason why you guys don't really wave your flag around, and you're not very like, Americans are proper patriotic? You guys are not really that patriotic. A bit like the Brits, we're not very patriotic as well. Is it because of, there was a time when obviously Nazi Germany and Hitler, the flag was waved so vigorously, so, in defiance of everything? Is that the reason why you guys you're very aware not to be too patriotic about your country, and you don't fly your flag everywhere? Let me know in the comment section.
Another ritual of remembrance on a Berlin street. Small crowds gathered outside of an apartment block watch as some of the paving stones in front of it are dug up. They're replaced with little brass blocks known as Stolperstein, stumbling blocks, memorials placed in front of the homes people either fled or were deported from during the Nazi years.
Right.
This couple and their 5-year-old daughter made it to France before being sent to Auschwitz, where they were killed. There are now more than 30,000 of
That's horrible.
these little stones across the country, the brainchild of German artist Günter Demnig. He arrives in a kind of Indian.
What an awesome idea. I just really think that is like such a great idea to have square little gold memorials, like mini memorials outside of spots that are historical in history. Just have meaning, taking, knowledge from the past and marking out where these things happened. That is such a good idea. Wow. Such a good idea.
Indiana Jones type flurry to tap the stones into place before disappearing again without a word, sometimes even before the ceremony.
Wow.
Asked about Herxheim and the Hitler Bell, Rabbi Walter Rothschild shrugs. He's more concerned about gains on the far right ahead of elections later this month.
There are more important things at the moment. There's a whole refugee crisis through the whole of Europe. There's a whole mess that's happening in the Middle East. There's the whole problems of the climate and starvation in Africa. I'm not going to get worked up about a bell in a church.
He sounds
But
British.
the old relic
yeah.
in Herzheim has in fact been silenced in the end. The day after we visited, church elders took a decision they'd previously said was for the town council to make, and the bell will ring no more. It won't be enough to vanquish the demons that haunt Germany, but as some memories fade, others are restored. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Berlin.
Wow. It's so interesting, like, that this will always be a part of your history. And it's kind of something you probably can't shake. You'll never shake, and you don't want to shake. It's part of German history, and it's also part of UK history. I never forget when I was at school and there was a survivor of the Holocaust, and he did a speech in front of all of us about his time in a concentration camp. And I've never been moved as much as listening to this man. You'd be able to hear a needle drop. It was that quiet and people were that engaged, because it's harrowing what happened to these people. And we just, least we forget. We should never forget. And I'm very happy that Germany, and in Germany you guys are doing as best as you can to never forget and to atone from the past and be very, very cognizant of far-right rhetoric. And I think you're very aware of equality and treating people how they're supposed to be treated. Let me know what it's like in Germany in that sense. I've got a feeling like I think you're quite aware as a country. But yeah, let me know down in the comment section below. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Until the next one, I will see you very soon.